How the quest for a financial dream turns into a financial nightmare. The classic story of hardworking people has set a pattern. Recently married, the happy, highly educated young couple now share a cramped, rented apartment. Immediately they realize that they are saving money because two can live as cheaply as one. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody is well. How is everybody's new year? I don't think we've done one since the start of the year. One of our readings, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and on the Zoom it's a bit hard to see, so I have to keep moving the book around. But we are going to be reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Everybody that's on Zoom and knows that we are reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad this morning. And yes, we are already in chapter 2. I cannot believe that we made it. Chapter 1 went on almost forever, but it was such a great chapter. Now, we have been talking about these little diagrams that you can see just here, where you can see the cash flow of rich people and poor people, how people buy liabilities, which is this one here, and then it goes to the expenses and people have to pay for it. Whereas the rich, for example, will have, let's have a look. No, so the middle class have their job and then the money comes in and then they use that to buy liabilities and it goes to their expenses. And the rich will buy assets and those assets will create more income, which means that they have more income than their expenses. So we've gone through a couple of those, and Rich Dad was talking about the fact that he likes to oversimplify it for the children, but that the lessons are still extremely good and even good for adults. Okay, let's get into it and continue on. So how the quest for a financial dream turns into a financial nightmare. The classic story of hardworking people has set a pattern. Recently married, the happy, highly educated young couple now share a cramped, rented apartment. Immediately they realize that they are saving money because two can live as cheaply as one. Problem is the apartment is cramped. They decide to save money to buy their dream home so they can have kids. They now have two incomes and they begin to focus on their careers. Their incomes begin to rise. As their incomes go up, their expenses go up as well, which is quite interesting. The number one expense for most people is taxes. Many people think it's income tax, but for most Americans, their highest tax is Social Security. As an employee, it appears as if the Social Security tax combined with the Medicare tax rate is roughly 7.5%, but it's really 15%, since the employer must match the Social Security amount. In essence, it is money the employer can't pay you. On top of that, you still have to pay income tax on the amount deducted from your wages for Social Security tax. Income you never received because it went directly to Social Security through withholding. So remember that all of this is American, by the way. So if we are talking about Australia, I would need to start looking into it because it's something I haven't thought about for a while. And there's been quite a lot of changes happening with taxation here in Australia, a couple of reforms and changes and different things that they've been doing. So it may be something that I'll do some research for you on. Going back to the young couple, as a result of their incomes increasing, they decide to buy the house of their dreams. Once in their house with a mortgage, they have a new tax called property tax. Then they buy a new car, new furniture, and new appliances to match their new house. All of a sudden, they wake up and their liabilities column is full of mortgage and credit card debt. Their liabilities go up. They're now trapped in the rat race. Pretty soon a baby comes along and they work harder. The process repeats itself. Higher income causes higher taxes, also called bracket creep. A credit card comes in the mail. They use it and max it out. A loan company calls and says their greatest asset, their home, has appreciated in value. Because their credit is so good, the company offers a bill consolidation loan and tells them the intelligent thing to do is clear off the high interest consumer debt by paying off their credit card. And besides, mortgage interest is a tax deduction. They go for it and pay off those high interest credit cards. They breathe a sigh of relief. Their credit cards are paid off. They've now folded their consumer debt into their home mortgage. Their payments go down because they extended their debt over 30 years. It is the smart thing to do. Their neighbor calls them to invite them to go shopping. The Memorial Day sale is on. They promise themselves they'll just window shop, but they take a credit card just in case. I run into this young couple all the time. Their names change, but their financial dilemma is the same. They come to one of my talks to hear what I have to say. They ask me, "Can you tell us how to make more money?" They don't understand that their trouble is really how they choose to spend the money that they do have. It is caused by financial illiteracy and not understanding the difference between an asset and a liability. It is so important for everybody to be able to get the insight into how money works and how money spent in one way is going to cause you issues. Money spent in another way is going to create great circumstances for you. The other interesting thing and really important is that with this financial literacy comes the ability for you to be able to take control of what is happening. So the more you learn, the more you understand, the better it's going to be. So I can't stress that enough. They don't understand that their trouble is really how they choose to spend the money. More money seldom involves somebody's money problems. Intelligence solves problems. There is a saying a friend of mine uses over and over to people in debt. If you have found you have dug yourself into the hole, stop digging. As a child, my dad often told us that the Japanese were aware of three powers: powers of the sword, the jewel, and the mirror. The sword symbolizes the power of weapons. America has spent trillions of dollars on weapons, and because of this, is a powerful military presence in the world. The jewel symbolizes the power of money. There is some degree of truth in the saying, remember the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. The mirror symbolizes the power of self-knowledge. This self-knowledge, according to Japanese legend, was the most treasured of the three. All too often, the poorer middle class allow the power of money to control them by simply getting up and working harder, failing to ask themselves if what they do makes sense. They shoot themselves in the foot as they leave for work every morning. By not fully understanding money, the vast majority of people allow its awesome power to control them. If they use the power of the mirror, they would have asked themselves, does this make sense? All too often, instead of trusting their inner wisdom, that genius inside, most people follow the crowd. They do things because everybody else does them. They conform rather than question. Often, they mindlessly repeat what they have been told. Diversify. Your home is an asset. Your home is your biggest investment. You get a tax break for going into greater debt. Get a safe job. Don't make mistakes. Don't take risks. In my case, I was very lucky. So I never decided to go down the path of looking to really impress people. And I questioned everything. I had parents that were always questioning everything. And if you can get into the habit of doing the same by living in a way that is a little bit more modest, then that can be extremely helpful. Once you get into trouble, you can look for ways to get yourself out of trouble. And you don't have to live more modestly and not be able to keep up with other people in a certain way. There are certain ways in which you can still look stylish, and you might not drive the most flash of cars. But what it will allow you to do is it will allow you to create for later. So it's interesting how very often we'll do things because we want to satisfy our needs and desires right now. Whereas we can also set up to create a brilliant future that is going to be amazing. But we concentrate on the here and now rather than on the future that we really want to have. And deep down, that's what we really want. But we allow what we want right now to get in the way and to stop us. Because everything that we want right now is digging that hole deeper. And we need to stop digging that hole. It is said that fear of public speaking is a fear greater than death for most people. According to psychiatrists, the fear of public speaking is caused by the fear of ostracism, the fear of standing out, the fear of criticism, fear of ridicule, and the fear of being an outcast. Fear of being different prevents most people from seeking new ways to solve their problems. That is why my educated dad said that the Japanese valued the power of the mirror the most, for it is only when we look into what we find into it that we find truth. Fear is the main reason that people say, play it safe. That goes for anything, be it sports, relationships, career, or money. But it also goes a little bit deeper than that. We are the ancestors of the people, the primitive past people that used to survive by doing what everybody else did. So when we were in our tribes, we used to hang out together. We used to do the same things together. If somebody heard something, everybody would run away at the same time. You see the same thing in birds and other animals. When you creep up on or when you see a little child creeping up on a flock of birds, the first bird that's closest to the child will notice what's going on and feel afraid and start flying away. And all the other birds will immediately start flying away. Because if they don't, they know that they're going to die. And so we have the same kind of thing. If we see other people doing something, then we feel we need to do the same thing because that is how we're going to survive. They are surviving, they are protecting themselves, they run, we have to run. But with finances, it is slightly different. So we are not all born the same. So animals, they all have the same instinct. They're all born with no money, they don't have money, so they don't need to worry about money. But in human existence, there are people who already have more money. There are people who don't know so much about it, so they will dig themselves into a hole. And the problem that we have nowadays is that there are people digging themselves into a hole. We think that there's a danger and that we also need to start digging. So everybody starts digging the same hole. Some people have a higher paying job and they can afford to do the same things that are digging a hole to somebody else. And we look to those people and think, well, if they can do it, then we can do it as well. But we don't have the financial foundation to back it up. So very important to be able to, I would say it's the power of that mirror, being able to know yourself, knowing what your own limitations are, knowing what you can handle and what you can't handle. And then you can also dissociate yourself from what everybody else is doing. So our instinct is to naturally do what everybody else is doing. And we need to learn, and some of us can do it easier than others, but we need to really learn to be able to observe, take a step back, look at it from a different angle, and decide whether, and ask lots of questions. That's what worked for me. Being able to ask lots of questions. Is this the best thing for me? Is there a reason why it works for some people and not for other people? Is there something that I can do different? Is this going to get to my longer term goal? All of these different kinds of questions. It is that same fear and fear of ostracism that causes people to conform to and not question commonly accepted opinions or popular trends. I think we read that part. Many mining financial problems are caused by trying to keep up with the Joneses. Occasionally, we all need to look in the mirror and be true to our inner wisdom rather than our fears. By the time Mike and I were 16, we began to have problems in school. We were not bad kids. We just began to separate from the crowd. We worked for Mike's dad after school and on weekends. Mike had often spent hours after work just sitting at a table with his dad while he held meetings with the bankers, attorneys, accountants, brokers, investors, managers, and employees. Here was a man who had left school at 30, who was now directing, instructing, ordering, and asking questions of educated people. They came at his beck and call and cringed when he didn't approve of them. Here was a man who had not gone along with the crowd. He was a man who did his own thinking and detested the words. We have to do it this way because that's the way everybody else does it. He also hated the word can't. If you wanted him to do something, just say, I don't think you can do it. Mike and I learned more sitting in on his meetings than we did in all our years of school, college included. Mike's dad was not book smart, but he was financially educated and successful as a result. He told us over and over again, an intelligent person hires people who are more intelligent than he is. So Mike and I have the benefit of spending hours listening to and learning from intelligent people. But because of this, Mike and I couldn't go along with the standard dogma our teachers preached, and that caused problems. Whenever the teacher said, if you don't get good grades, you won't do well in the real world, Mike and I just raised our eyebrows. When we were told to follow set procedure and not deviate from the rules, we could see how school discouraged creativity. We started to understand why our rich dad told us that schools were designed to produce good employees instead of employers. Occasionally, Mike or I would ask our teachers how what we studied was applicable in the real world, why we never studied money and how it worked. To the latter question, we often got the answer that money was not important, that if we excelled in our education, the money would follow. The more we knew about the power of money, the more distant we grew from the teachers and our classmates. My highly educated dad never pressured me about my grades, but we did begin to argue about money. By the time I was 16, I probably had a far better foundation with money than both my parents. I could read books, I listened to tax accountants, corporate attorneys, bankers, real estate brokers, investors, and so forth. By contrast, my dad talked only to other teachers. So we're going to leave it at that one. I can't believe we're already up to page 98 in such a short period of time since we started reading this one. If you missed out on any of the previous chapters, because I've been recording a couple extra just in case, I was planning to maybe go away for a couple of days this week, but it didn't pan out, so that's okay. But I wanted to build up a buffer. So if you've missed any of these episodes, they are all being put onto YouTube in order, in chronological order. So you can go there and watch those previous episodes to catch up and get my commentary at the Passive Cash Flow Club on YouTube. And I would love to see you there. Make sure that you subscribe, because I have a couple of other videos for the Cash Flow Club that I run that I'm going to be uploading. And I'll be doing some other videos as well. I have lots of exciting videos for 2022 plan. So I would love to see you there. Make sure you subscribe so you know when not only these videos are being uploaded, but also those extra videos that we are going to start making. I think the first one might be coming out in just a day or two even. So keep an eye out for that. And if you hit subscribe, it will automatically notify you when one of our really great videos is going to be coming up. I'm going to be talking about the stock market in a few of those and how it works and how to analyze companies, for example. So keep an eye out for that. And I also love to hear your comments. So let me know what you thought and what your feelings are about Rich Dad Poor Dad. Have you had experiences with it? Do you ask questions or do you follow the crowd? What are you going to do to stop following the crowd? All of those different things can help you to be able to separate yourself from who you were and have a look in that mirror and decide what you want to do from now on. And I know some of you are already successfully investing, but there's always another level. There was an interesting interview that I watched recently of Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. And he was talking about the fact that he has a $100 million way of thinking, and that he struggles, and that he does not have the current capacity to think like a billionaire. And he says that he needs to upskill himself. He needs to look in that mirror. He needs to make some changes because his current thinking will not get him to $1 billion. And yeah, it was a fascinating interview. So that's that. And also, if you'd like to know more about cash flow, and if you'd like to join us for a game of cash flow, or even the more advanced online version, which is more realistic. So we put in more taxation things, and it has all sorts of different things that will really show you how things work in real life. So cash flow is a great game to start off with so that you get the basics. But if you want to take the game and start playing it in real life, if you want to take your investing to the next level, then we've created this online version so that it will help teach you even more and assist you to be able to implement better in real life, because you can actually see how things are working and what is happening. And you can also see a more realistic picture of taxes and the like. So if you'd be interested in that, you can follow me on Instagram at business_team_the number 6_official, and you'll be able to find me there. You can see what I'm up to, obviously, on Instagram. You can also DM me and send me a personal message and ask me for information about the Cash Flow Club, or you can talk about Rich Dad Poor Dad or anything else you'd like to have a chat about, financially related. And You can also ask me about Cash Flow Club, and I'll get my VA, my virtual assistant, to send you some information, and we'd love to have you there. But most of all, thank you for coming today and taking the time to listen to some reading. It is really appreciated. I love having you all here. I'm able to give you my commentary. I don't get a lot of feedback or commentary back from you. So I'd love for you to leave your comments on the YouTube channel at the Passive Cash Flow Club, or you can also leave a comment and let me know your thoughts based on what I've been reading and my thoughts at Instagram. So at business_team_the number 6_official. I am looking forward to hearing from you. I'm looking forward to following your journey in 2022. It is so exciting this new year. It's been a challenging year last year, but this year, who knows what will happen, but you can take the year into your own hands and create your own destiny when you understand the lessons from Rich Dad Poor Dad. We'll also read some other books once we get to a certain point in this one. And go out and have a great day. I'm sure you have some amazing goals that you want to achieve this year. I'd like to suggest you do some work on those goals, either thinking about them or starting to put in some effort and some tasks to get those goals done. Have an amazing day. I'm looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock Sydney time for some more reading. And be good till then.